Hey folks, this is BestInSlot. Welcome back to our mod spotlight series for Jurassic World Evolution 2. It's been a couple of weeks since we last did this on, a big collection of mods. So I've got tons and tons of stuff to show you. Before that though, a very quick disclaimer as per usual, mods can possibly break your game, break your save files more so. It doesn't seem to happen that often anymore, but do be careful when you're installing mods, especially when the game updates. If it breaks, it's not my fault, not the mod maker's fault, not Frontier's fault. We good? We're good. So, before we dig into today's mods, I just want to show you something that Yossib has been working on. Yossib has been working on Jurassic World Evolution 1. Now, they've said that this could be coming to Jurassic World Evolution 2, but they're waiting for the game to finish updating. It's got some potential. I'm just going to play a little clip for it. I'm going to link the full clip down below. Definitely go check out their video and their channel. But here's a little clip. So what you're seeing there are working Planet Zoo animations in Jurassic World Evolution 1. So the potential for that, we've got tigers and lions and stuff running around, the potential for that for, say, a Smilodon custom species suddenly becomes really, really interesting. Like I say, that's potentially coming to Jurassic World Evolution 2 down the line. We need to wait for the game to finish updating to make sure nothing's going to suddenly break all of their hard work, which is very understandable. But there's going to be some very cool stuff to this game when the game has finished updating. I know quite a few mod makers who are holding off a little bit until that time comes. But I just want to showcase that. Very cool, very exciting for the future. Definitely go check Yossib's channel linked down below. Now, let's dig into some mods. We're going to start with something a little bit daft. So, Nanoland Sensors recently released a Dominion size edits pack, and I'm going to bring up an image of this here, so I'm only going to show you one dinosaur from this pack, but it resizes a Atrociraptor, Pyroraptor, Morus Intrepidus, and Quetzalcoatlus to be more realistic. Morus in the film is very, very undersized. I think we're assuming it's always a juvenile, but the fully grown dinosaur was quite a lot bigger. Pyroraptor would have been a lot smaller, Atrociraptor was smaller, Quetzalcoatlus has been scaled down appropriately, etc. So if you just wanted a little bit more paleo accuracy in your Dominion creatures, this mod's really good for you. However, they did one other edit, which I'm going to show you in this video. So, we're going to release a Giganotosaurus. And the distance with which we've moved away should tell you something. I tell you what, we looked out with the tree line there. That looked awesome. So, this is the resized Giga. It is large. It works really well. I've got to say, fair play to Frontier's texture work as well, because they've scaled up massively here. And you've got to say, they hold their own, I would suggest. I don't know if Nano's done any work on those, but maybe. But this is also just a test on, how the rig's going to work, how's the animation going to work. It's very much experimental at this point in time. The funny thing about this is, if you released Morus Intrepidus now and compared it to the size of the Giga, I think this is probably quite realistic. There's that shot at the start of Dominion in the prologue where the Morus walks up to the mouth of the Giganotosaurus, and the size difference is absolutely gigantic and completely off base. And so this is, in a way, much more accurate to the film. Now, it is truly the largest predator that Alan Grant has ever seen. I am going to move it out of the exhibit, but I actually think it's pretty cool. It's kind of like a Godzilla in your park, essentially. I'm going to pop you over there. You have fun just sort of rampaging around the countryside. Right, 9 new species mods to check out now, one of them including 3 new species. Lots to do today, lots of fun information. We're going to start off with a new mod maker releasing 2 brand new species, someone we've never talked about on the channel. This is Orkoraptor by Fat Uncle Clyde Keane. Here we go. I don't know. Oh, it's the face. I'll move that in a sec. Sorry about that. My Mayan head popping up everywhere. So, this is Orkoraptor by Fat Uncle Clyde Keane. As I say, new to the Nexus. They've uploaded only 2 mods, and we're going to see both of them in this video. Let's talk about Orkoraptor first of all. This is a Megaraptoran from late Cretaceous Argentina. Originally classified as a Maniraptora instead, actually. And upon researching this, I learned a new term today, so you're going to learn it as well. So when it was a Maniraptor, it was a Maniraptor inserte sedis, or sedis, S-E-D-I-S. Inserte sedis, butchered, obviously. And that's Latin for uncertain placement. And it's basically used for taxonomic groups where the wider relationships, the broader relationships, remain unknown. You know, they think it's a Maniraptora, but they don't really know how it fits into everything else. You can actually get more specific with this. There's a whole range of these Latin terms. Inserte familiae is for family. Inserti subordinates for suborder. Inserti ordinis for the order, etc., etc. So if you see those Latin terms, if you see inserti or inserte, and it's talking about dinosaur placement, it just means we're not sure about where it fits within the order or the suborder, or the family, stuff like that. Anyways, this is really well made. This one, and in particular the next one you're going to see, I think Fat Uncle Clyde Keane has a really cool, slightly retro aesthetic when it comes to their dinosaurs. You know, we're not going to see any feathers or anything here. There's something very reptilian and lizard-like in their designs. This feels like if this dinosaur existed in Jurassic Park rather than Jurassic World Dominion or, you know, modern Jurassic World Evolution 2, I feel this is what it would have looked like. You know, it's got that kind of old school kind of feel to it, that very reptilian, very classic dinosaur in some way. It's really cool to see, actually, and really well modeled, really well animated, nice, you know, realistic patterning. They've said they've got a lot more planned, so really excited to see what else they do, including our next critter. Let me just move this head. Come on, come here. Head, come here. Thank you. You're meant to sit there. So you're meant to welcome the dinosaurs. So they also made a Neovenator. Let's check that out next. And again, I think this one really showcases what I was just saying. It has that, you know, again, I could see this in the original Jurassic Park. You know, it's definitely got that slightly retro, still very well made, well animated. Well, not animated, you know what I mean, but very well made, well rigged. Really like the textures, really like this little hint of purple coloration. You know, they're quite toned down in terms of designs. They're just very steady, realistic, but still slightly retro dinosaurs. I really like the style. I'm a big fan of this Neovenator in particular. And Neovenator, the new hunter, is a carcharodontid from early Cretaceous England, from the Isle of Wight, actually, specifically, which is not nearly as good as the Isle of Man, but I might be biased. Discovered in 1978 after a storm-wrought rockfall revealed fossils within the rock. That was terribly... I wrote the word storm wrought because I thought it sounds awesome, and then I said it out loud. I was like, no, I can't say this in a sentence. It revealed fossils within the rock, this storm wrought rockfall, and it was actually redescribed in great up-to-date detail once again in 2008, so 30 years later, by a group of 3, including none other than Stephen Broussat, who would of course go on to consult rather famously with the Jurassic World franchise. He was the dinosaur consultant, at least on Jurassic World Dominion, and was very active on Twitter, and, you know, really good to people. Lots of people talk to him and stuff like that. It was really cool to see. But anyways, yeah, welcome to the modding community, to Fat Uncle Clyde Keane. Some really cool stuff here. Very excited to see what they do in the future. Love the look of these 2 dinosaurs. Let's move on. There's much to do today. Our next dinosaur is Zhuchengtyrannus, made by... I'm going to have to move you out of the way, cheeky little player. Zhuchengtyrannus, made by Trippy28. So, Zhuchengtyrannus, a tyrannosaurid from late Cretaceous China. First described only in 2011. It's kind of weird, because you feel this with a lot of dinosaurs. They'll be described in like the early 2000s. I feel like I've known this dinosaur for, you know, for years, and years and years and years. But it's been around for 12 years, or at least described for 12 years. Only known from a single holotype skeleton. It's very similar in size and morphology, you might be picking this up, to the Tarbosaurus, and of course another Asian tyrannosaurid. Really like Trippy's version. This is a lot of colour and a lot of pattern for a large, bulky theropod, a large, bulky tyrannosaurid. You can see it's got that slightly angular, sleeker sort of head shape, more similar to Tarbosaurus, different from Tyrannosaurus rex. Lots of colours, this sort of tear, long, elongated tear shape coming down in this like clown kind of makeup at the back there. Of course, I've gone for random colours, different ones will look better. The coloration is really interesting here on the body. It's kind of got that, you know, that chromatic aberration kind of feel when I stare at it. I think it's the mix of colours and the way they're sliced together. It feels like I'm staring through a messed up camera, but yeah, it looks really good. Really like that skull shape. I think there's loads of interesting colours and patterns in there. Trippy always does good stuff, and this is no exception. Those big black feet as well, like it's wearing gigantic stockings, which is deeply erotic. Right, next up, today is a very carnivore heavy day, as you'll see, but we have an adorable new herbivore, Kulindadromeus, from none other than the very talented, I've lost my page, Mr. Troodon. Okay, super cute to say the least. Let's get a nice patterned one in here. Look at this little guy. Loads of fantastic colorations going on there. So, let's talk about the dinosaur first of all. Kulindadromeus. It's hard to say it's one word. A Neoornithischian from the mid-Jurassic of Russia. An important dinosaur. Despite being a basal ornithischian, as you can see, it does have feathers on it. You know, the skeleton has feather integument, suggesting that feathers are basal to Ornithischia and possibly all of Dinosauria in general. You know, they would be proto-feathers, but still they're feathers. It's also, in a very cool detail, it features on the flag and the coat of arms of the Russian district of Chernyshevsky, which is where it's discovered. I always love seeing dinosaurs on national flags and on region flags and all this kind of jazz, and it's really inspiring. I really want to do a video sort of doing a deep dive onto dinosaurs featured on flags. I think it's actually a really interesting topic, so I'm gonna maybe start to work on that this week. Maybe we'll see that next week. But a fantastic mod, as you would expect, from Mr. Troodon, this lovely fluffy thing. I love this very sharp delineation here between, you know, we've got this big fluffy body, this adorable big eyes and cute little face, you know, fluff all the way around, a little gap there around the sort of the jaw, around the snout and around the eyes, as you would expect, but it's got a little beard, the feathers go all the way down the legs, but then it splits very harsh here at the tail. It kind of looks like it's two dinosaurs glued together. We've got this very prominently scaled tail here, and the difference between the feather section and the tail and the scales is very, very sharp. But really cool colours, really cool patterns. You know, Mr. Troodon always brings absolutely top level work, so not too surprising, but yeah, loads of lovely variety as well. Very cute little dinosaur. Not a dinosaur I think maybe I'd sort of oftenly know, but definitely not a well-known dinosaur in particular as well, even though it's super important. And yeah, as you can see, we've got all these varieties, lovely patterns. I love seeing the full proper, it's not painted on feathering, it's fully properly feathered, and yet it still has this fantastic patterning going on. Just a really, really, really cool custom dinosaur. Good stuff. Right, now back to the carnivores. So, next up we have Gorgosaurus by Master Doot. Eager beaver, aren't they? So Gorgosaurus scaled to its real life size, so it might seem a bit small compared to some things, but it's based on how big it actually was. This Tyrannosaurid from late Cretaceous North America is well known from its Walking with Dinosaurs appearance, which, as you can see, does have a custom skin. It's got a Walking with Dinosaurs specific skin. If you wanted to use that, it was the Walking with Dinosaurs 3D film with the, I think it was a Pachyrhinosaurus, right? That's the protagonist. I never actually saw Walking with Dinosaurs 3D, but I have seen the big blue Gorgosaurus all over the place. Now, Gorgo is Tyrannosaurid, but it's got more in common with Albertosaurus than it does with, say, Tyrannosaurus. They're very closely related to Albertosaurus, almost indistinguishable. I'd say too many big words in these videos, to the point where some paleontologists doubt whether Gorgosaurus actually exists, or whether it's just a junior synonym for an Albertosaurus instead. Now, in a fun coincidence that I'm not going to talk about yet, we'll talk about that in a minute. So, what are you doing with your left leg, buddy? But yeah, you know, Master Doot always, you know, Master Doot is probably the most consistent, high-quality mod maker out there at the moment, I would suggest. Really, really good. The Walking with Dinosaur skin, you know, feels very different than the others. It feels like this is a special one with its, you know, bright blue, deep blue coloration and those black stripes descending around the back and that searing red eye. Really nicely textured, really cool modelling. Feels distinct from the Albertosaurus, feels a little bit thicker. We've got those very prominent, sharp, pointed forward head crests. But it's still got some really nice naturalistic sort of patterning as well. It kind of just blends nicely into the game, and yeah, it just looks really, really good. The skull in particular has got lots of lovely little details with the different coloration there around the fenestra, and you know, a little bit of colour, the patterning there over the crest and down there towards the snout as well. And that big scaly snout, you know, standing out amongst the much smaller scales of the rest of the body. Really good stuff by Master Do, as you would expect. But I can't say that or feel that, because if you expect greatness, then it puts too much pressure on people, you know? So never mind, as you would expect. Good job, Master Do. Let's go with that. Now, I was going to talk about a lovely coincidence, because a fun fact about Gorgosaurus is that it lived with another Tyrannosaurid, which is actually really, really rare. You don't tend to find Tyrannosaurids living in harmony together, or coexisting, shall we say, rather than living in harmony, for fairly obvious reasons. Most Tyrannosaurids were larger, they were dominant creatures, you know, large, terrifying predators. However, Gorgosaurus lived with a rarer Tyrannosaurid. That is, of course, Daspletosaurus, the return of the jagged fang designs, Daspletosaurus. Oh, this angle. Very cool. So arriving with 3 beautiful skins. Took bloody ages to get my 4. You can hatch 4 of these at once. It took absolutely ages to get all 3 skins in one egg clutch. I think I made about 20 groups of eggs before I happened to land on all 3. Anyways, right, so I'm not going to talk too much about this Plesiosaurus, because it's definitely something we've done many times before. We've looked at this mod before, but you know, this is back in Jurassic World Evolution 2 now. Jagged Fang Designs seem to be bringing out more of their dinosaurs slowly over time. Probably because, as I mentioned at the start of the video, the game does feel a little bit more stable now. Things are changing a little less. It's been a very long time since mods broke, so I think people feel a little bit safer, at least with new species. When it comes to other things, you never know what will change. Because we've talked about this so many times, I'm not going to talk too much about Daspletosaurus in general. I do want to showcase it because I think Jagged Fang Designs have the very best pattern work in all of mod making. I mean, these things just look absolutely stunning. They're so naturalistic despite having such varied patterns and colours. This thing is absolutely beautiful. Really like that one. Really, they always do that. I always say this about Jagged Fang Designs dinosaurs, but every single time it's true. They're always brown. And then they take this brown dinosaur and give it a 10,000 shades of brown and patterns and tones and all this. And look, this is just, like, if you had to describe the colour of this dinosaur, it's brown. But that would do disservice to this huge variety. Obviously, they're really well modelled and really well rigged and everything as well. You know, they just look beautiful and professional, and every aspect of them is absolutely spot on. Absolutely stunning, as per usual. Always going to highlight Jagged Fang Design stuff when it exists, and they've got a few of them out there now you can download, so I definitely recommend that you do just that. Right, we are done. Where's my Giga, by the way? I figured I'd be able to see it from 10,000 miles away, but I can't see it anywhere. Giga, where have you gone, buddy? It's over there. Oh, there it is. You can just about see it over the tree line. That makes me really happy. I don't know why. I love stupid mods. They're like my favourite kind of mod. It reminds me of that Godzilla mod we had. That might have been Jurassic World Evolution 1, God only knows. Anyways, we're done with our terrestrials. We're now going to head to the seas. I should make this a bit bigger. This feels a bit mean. I'm not going to lie. Let me just throw another lagoon in there. Okay, so Master Do, who obviously made that fantastic Gorgosaurus mod, has also come out with a Plesiosaur pack containing 3 different Plesiosaurs. So we're going to check out the first one, Romaleosaurus. It's probably Romaleosaurus. Romaleosaurus. Dun, dun. Oh, very cool. It's gurning towards the camera. Okay, it's a big boy. This looks fantastic. I really love seeing people do more pterosaurs, do more, you know, aquatic creatures as well. You know, most people make theropods. That's typically what we get, so it's really nice to see a bit of variety. I love that sort of stretched, wide grin of a skull shape. Very intimidating, almost like the Joker, sort of. It's kind of comical, but intimidating at the same time. We live in a society, etc. An early Jurassic Plesiosaur then, Romaleosaurus. Early Jurassic Plesiosaur from Yorkshire, where I lived for a year. It's a fun fact. No, you need to know that. Don't know why. One of the first large marine predators to ever exist. You know, I say this was early Jurassic when they were really burgeoning. And hunted on ichthyosaurs and ammonites and the like. So, pretty cool. Not much else to say on that one. Really, really nice design. Again, I say this quite a lot. Oh, very nice. I love seeing larger creatures, and it is quite a lot. This is quite a large critter right here. I love seeing with the pattern. This black and orange one in particular is fantastic looking, but they're all really good. It's kind of dotted / striped pattern where it kind of follows the ridges along the body, and we've got that slightly lighter counter-shaded underbelly under there as well. Looks really cool. We've got very sort of bent and sharpened teeth, very good for, you know, snatching fish and keeping hold of them as they wiggle, wiggle, wiggle out of the way, etc. But yeah, loads of colour, which I really love to see as well. Evocative patterning, which I like to see on the Plesiosaurs, which tend to be rendered a little bit more boring. And yeah, beautiful stuff, really cool. Really nice to see them taking a stab at some aquatic creatures as well. And as I say, there are 2 more of these to check out. So next up is Mortonaria. Now, Mortonaria is, of course, mainly known for its appearance in Prehistoric Planet in the 2nd season, where it popped up in an ice hole, and that makes sense because this is an Antarctic plesiosaur from the late Cretaceous. They had to use every trick in the book to excavate this. They went to Antarctica and excavated it, because even simple things, like the plaster, you make a plaster cast, the plaster couldn't set. It was so cold that the plaster wouldn't set, so they had to heat up the plaster until it set. It makes you wonder how many creatures are out there in inhospitable environments that are just sort of waiting to be discovered. There's surely tons of stuff out there that we haven't found yet, just because they're in such a difficult area to find. But anyways, yeah, Mortonaria, really cool. Again, another fantastic looking plesiosaur here. If it could get into the light even slightly, that would be phenomenal. But really like how this looks. Nice contrast there with our earlier Romaleosaurus. And I'm gonna just, I'm gonna move you into the light myself because you're annoying me now. Why are you so? Is it because of you? Is it because of the trees? So I need to murder the trees. I'm gonna murder the trees, and that'll help. I don't know if that's gonna help much actually. How are we doing? Are we in the light? Sort of. There we go. I can get a good look at this. So yeah, this sort of fairly standard plesiosaur body. We've got that kind of tipped tail. I don't know what you'd call this. It kind of looks like someone's taken a big chunk out of it, which we've seen on some of our other plesiosaurs. But the really interesting detail around here, around the head, you can see how demonstrably different the skull shape is. We're taking 2 plesiosaurs here, which in some ways can feel quite similar. This one's got a much more stout head, curvier, thicker, bulkier, different mouth shape, much shorter in the jaw. And then, of course, we've got this really cool, dewlappy skin hanging down sort of area over here. Kind of makes it look like an old granddad plesiosaur, but also a little intimidating and a little bulky and a little bit more of a rampager or some, I don't know what words I'm trying to say here. It's been a very long day, but looks really good. And we have a third. And also really good because we need to be able to make, of course, Prehistoric Planet inspired exhibits, and now you can. Fantastic. So the third and final of the Mastodute Plesiosaur pack is Serpentisucops. 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 It's a silly name, as you will see. Okay, and there we go. So again, we've got a demonstrably different head shape there. That's thin, elongated snout, very different than the others. A bit smaller than the others as well. And then, of course, we've got this lovely dappled sort of pattern with the striping breaking up along there. That snout is very, very unusual. Really interesting looking, almost like a bird, or like a seabird or some description, or some pterosaur rather than a plesiosaur, very thin at the tip of the snout. All 3 feel demonstrably different, It's mainly done via head shape, as you would expect, but, there's some different sizing going on here as well, some different tail styles, stuff like that. Very, very cool looking. Always love them from underneath like this. That's how I like my plesiosaurs to be. The name literally means serpent, sucops, means snaky crocodile face. Which is very silly, but you can kind of see why. It's snaky, it's got this elongation, but it looks a little crocodilian with that elongated snout. It's a plesiosaur from late Cretaceous Wyoming in the US. The species name is Pfisteray, but it's Pfisteray, which honors the people who own the land where it's discovered, which is very, very common in paleontology. Most creatures I've looked at today, the species name of the genera of the genus is named after the people who own the land and not the discoverer. Now, I'm assuming that's because you know, it takes a few people to unearth. It takes quite a lot of people typically to discover a new specimen, to unearth a new specimen. If it's like a paleontological dig, some dinosaurs and some creatures are discovered accidentally, rockfall, etc. But some are dug out and some are aimed for almost. And if you've got tons of people working on it, it might feel a bit rough to name just one person in the species name. So they tend to name it after the person who owns the land. I had a whole spiel about this, like in the modern time where people are rebelling against like vast land ownership and stuff like that. It's funny in a way that paleontology kind of celebrates something that's a little bit controversial these days, but anyways, yeah, I wasn't making a wider point on that. Just wanted to talk about that very briefly. Right, we have one more aquatic left to go. This is Eurhinosaurus, made by Trippy28. Oh, you look bioluminescent. So this is, of course, a new ichthyosaur. The appropriately named well-nosed lizard, because if you look at this, as you can see, this isn't one long snout, this is one long jaw. The top jaw is over twice the size, twice the length of the lower jaw, and extends way past the lower jaw ends here. The upper jaw ends all the way over here. And it's similar to modern extant swordfish, and the idea probably was that this sharp pointed jaw with the teeth sort of sticking out of it would have been used to pierce soft-bodied flesh from behind. So, you know, you'd have like a little soft squishy fishy, and you'd sneak up behind it and you'd skewer it basically, and then you'd be able to chomp it down. Very interesting adaptation there, so using that long snout to hunt things down. And another really cool looking creature from Trippy. Again, love to see people making aquatics, especially lesser known aquatics like this one. You know, body shape ichthyosaurs tend to be fairly similar, and this one's no different. The body up until the jaw is very, very similar to the others, although I love this little striping pattern. It's got speed stripes going on, and then we've got little dappley dots going down there, and love all these flippers and fins to be tipped like that on the tail there, and just at the snout as well. Looks like it's been gouging through someone, which is very cool. So yeah, really nicely patterned. Body's about what you expect, and then just the snout is actually really well rendered. Just looks good. Teeth look good. Snout looks good. Jaw looks good. Yeah, it's great. It's kind of what you'd expect. It's very professionally well done. Really high quality, and blends into the game perfectly well as well. And we're heading to the aviary for our very last critter. This is Austriadactylus by Glitch. Glitch has unfortunately said this is going to be their final ever mod. I'm not sure why, they've just done, you know, they're kind of burned out or whatever the point is. But this is Glitch's swan song, as it were. And it's a really cool little pterosaur. So this Ramporankid pterosaur from late Cretaceous Austria is known for one thing in particular, which is this large bony crest at the front. They've really taken it to its logical conclusion here. Large bony crest right at the front of the snout, as you can see. I say large. In reality, 2 centimeters, at least the bone aspect of it. But this is a very small pterosaur, you know, 120 centimeters in the wingspan, something like that. So a 2 centimeter crest suddenly becomes quite large. Really nicely, this is like a slightly rotten or browning banana on the underneath, but really cool little Ramporankid here. Not something we've got very much of in the game. Looks absolutely bizarre with that humongous square crest. Really interesting colours. Love this dappley, I've said dapple too many times today, this spotted pattern on the wings, which is really interesting and unique. Really cool variety of colours as well. That tail going absolutely bonkers at the back. I don't know what's going on with that. It does have an unusual tail. I didn't write down the details on that, but there was something about how it doesn't have, or it does have, or it doesn't have, or it does have the stiff tail that Ramporankids are known to have. I don't know what's going on there. That's wild. But it's a really cool looking, very unusual, kind of cute in its weirdness. You know, it's just goofy looking, which I really appreciate, because it would have done in reality as well by Glitch. So it's a shame Glitch isn't going to be working on it anymore, because they do some really good work. But hopefully they, oh god, he's coming. Hopefully they have fun in the next life or whatever the heck's going on. And that is our lot for today. Some fantastic new mods. Absolutely bloody, I can't get over it. Absolutely tons of them. Loads of new species. There was a few really cool mods that I couldn't highlight today either. Just time constraints or you know, there were replacements and stuff like that, which I tend to avoid. I've made an exception for the Giga for fairly obvious reasons. But I definitely recommend you check all these out. I will link them all in the description down below, along, of course, with Josipa's video. You can check that out as well, see the full cycle of the animation and stuff like that. And yeah, great. Thank you very much for joining me. Come back maybe tomorrow for a video, but if not, Wednesday. Frontier, i.e. the makers of Jurassic World Evolution 2, are doing a stream on Wednesday. It's probably not Evolution related, it's probably Planet Zoo related, but we don't know. They're doing like a big announcement thing, so we're going to live stream it here on the channel and react and discuss it as it happens. So I will see you tomorrow or Wednesday. Either way, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know which was your favourite of this fantastic suite of mods. Give all the love to the mod makers you can over on the Nexus. Even if you don't download them, just go tell them that you love them. Who doesn't want to hear that? Exactly. And thank you so much for joining me. Throw me a like if you enjoyed the video. Yada, yada, yada. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye.